So now we're going to move on to the tongue model. And as you can see, this is the model we looked at before in regard to the larynx. So now you can kind of focus in on it. It is you can see kind of the relation of the tongue to the larynx and how, the larynx is actually quite small here when we compare it to the tongue muscles. This first thing is the mandible, which is pretty obvious. We'll pull that off. So now you can kind of see the whole tongue structure in relation to the larynx and the hyoid bone here, where there's muscles coming down from the hyoid bone to the larynx, and there's muscles going up to the tongue. And we'll pull off the larynx now. All right, so we basically have the tongue model right here. All right, we're gonna go through different parts. So first, the tip of the tongue, fairly easy. The blade. So the blade is this whole top surface of the tongue. Like when you stick out your tongue, what you see is mostly your blade. This is called the blade of the tongue, all right? The kind of upper surface. Then filiform papillae, if you look, I don't know if you can, it's pretty good. In here, there's these little kind of bumps, right? All these little bumps on the surface of the tongue. That's the filiform papillae. The valate papillae are these ones here. So we're gonna mention here, this is that foramen cecum, that pit that's right way, way, way in the back of the tongue. And going out from it are these papillae that are kind of in the shape of an upside down V. So they're here and here going down, and those are the valate papillae. So you can kind of see, it looks like pimples in a upside down V. That's the valate papillae. There's the foramen cecum, so it's way, way in the back of the tongue. There's kind of this pit there. Sublingual gland is going to be this gland right here. Okay, so it's below the tongue, sublingual gland. The hyoid bone, I told you already, I pulled that off. Now let's pull this tongue in half and we'll look at some of the muscles, okay? So these are ones you've learned already. So this is like, cutting through sagittal section of the tongue. The top muscle that's kind of running along here is going to be the superior longitudinal muscle of the tongue. These are all the intrinsic muscles. So this is kind of a septum that's dividing these intrinsic muscles of the tongue from these other muscles down here. Right above that white septum, that's not the median fibrous septum, but that's another septum of the tongue. There is the inferior longitudinal, so that kind of runs along the bottom part of the tongue here. In between, there's fibers running up and down, and there's fibers running kind of this way, that they're running transversely, going this way. So those are the transversus muscle of the tongue, the transverse muscle of the tongue, and then the vertical muscle of the tongue is running up and down, and they intermingle with each other in there. Then the genioglossus muscle is kind of the rest down here. So we see this big, and we talked about there's an anterior part and there's a posterior part, but this whole fan-shaped muscle here to here, that's the genioglossus muscle. All right, same thing on this side. This whole fan shape right here, that's the genioglossus muscle. Underneath, this is the geniohyoid muscle. So that's one that you learned, I think, from the last test too. The geniohyoid muscle, kind of going from the chin here in front to the hyoid bone in the back. So that's this bottom layer is geniohyoid, genioglossus is on top. All right, then the styloglossus, so we'll kind of put the tongue together again because we were kind of done with the intrinsic tongue muscles. All right, the styloglossus, so here we see the whole tongue again, is going to be this one up here, kind of these little horns coming up, right? So they're going from the tongue to the styloid process. So they go way up. This has like been cut off, but it would go up to the styloid process on both sides. That's the styloglossus muscle. The hyoglossus is that one that kind of comes down. So it's this one right here, hyoglossus. Here you're seeing kind of the wide part of it, and you can't really see it on this side. We'll stick to this side, but you can see here so this is the back part of the hyaloglossus here and here. So it's quite a flat muscle. Like here you're seeing kind of the wide part, and then you see it's quite thin. It's this flat muscle that's kind of going up to the sides of the tongue. The glossopharyngeal nerve, don't worry about identifying that, but if you want to know, that is this nerve up here, the glossopharyngeal nerve. Then let's see what haven't we done yet? Oh, the hypoglossal nerve. So that's the one that's this one down here. And it's going to all the intrinsic muscles of the tongue. So that's the hypoglossal nerve. Then the lingual nerve, don't worry about that one either, really, but that's this one up here going, particularly part of that hypoglossal nerve going to the tongue. The median fibrous septum, someone asked this. So the central sulcus is, when you look on top, you can't really tell from this tongue, but there's a little bit of an indentation in the surface. That's the central sulcus. You see it on the top. If you pull the tongue apart, the septum that's right down the center, so it would run all along here. There's like a median fibrous septum that divides the tongue into right and left halves. And so there's a right superior longitudinal and a left superior longitudinal. So that's the median fibrous septum. And that's it.